Chapter 1, A Trip Meant for Two. She always said she wanted the ocean to feel like glass. Not the kind you step over. The kind you float above, endless, silent, clean. Maya used to show me pictures on Pinterest of villas perched over teal water, champagne in hand, skin sun-kissed and glowing. "This is where I'll feel like I made it," she said once, curling into my side, showing me her phone. "Somewhere no one can bother us." So when I booked the Maldives trip, I didn't tell her right away. I waited. Waited until we were sitting across from each other at our favorite Thai place, the one with the string lights and mango sticky rice that made her cry the first time she had it. Her hair was still damp from the rain, cheeks flushed from laughing at some video I showed her on the walkover. I pulled out the folder like it was a ring box. She blinked. "What's this?" I slid it across the table. Inside, round-trip tickets, reservation confirmation, and an itinerary I spent 3 weeks building. The overwater bungalow. The private transfer. A couple's massage scheduled for the first morning. Sunset dinners. The champagne cruise she'd mentioned once, just once, 6 months ago, and never brought up again. She stared at the papers like they might disappear. Then she looked up at me, stunned. "You booked it?" "For us," I said. "As our honeymoon. I wanted it locked in. Something to hold on to while we go crazy planning this wedding." She laughed. Actually teared up. Reached across the table and grabbed my hands. "No one's ever done anything like this for me," she whispered. "Ever." I believed her. And when she kissed me across the table and said, "You're the only man I trust to get it right," I believed that too. I had no idea those words would become the biggest lie she ever told. Chapter 2, The Postponement. It started with her mother. Carla always had a way of making things sound urgent without saying anything directly. The kind of woman who'd raise an eyebrow at the color of a napkin and somehow turn it into a crisis. Maya called me one night after dinner, voice low, deliberate. "Hey babe, can we talk?" Those 4 words. Always a prelude to something wrapped in rationalization. "I've been thinking," she continued. "About the timing. About the wedding. I feel like everything's been moving really fast." We'd been engaged for 9 months. The date was set. Vendors booked. Dress fitted. My family had already bought flights. "You're getting cold feet?" I asked, trying to keep it light. No, not like that." She rushed in. "It's just. My mom's been going through a lot. And Dad's still not fully on board. He hasn't even RSVP'd. I think we should pause. Just for now. Push it a little." I didn't say anything at first. I was too busy trying to process whether this was about her family or about us. "I still want to marry you," she said, softer now. "I just want everything to feel aligned. You know?" I nodded, eventually. Told her I understood. Then we could hit pause, let things settle. "And the trip?" I asked, more cautious. "We'll go later," she said. "That place isn't going anywhere." She smiled like it was nothing. Like paradise could wait. But later that night, I logged into the travel portal to check the reservation. The dates were still locked. Nothing had been moved. I hovered over the cancel button, just for a second. But I couldn't do it. Because I didn't want to believe it yet. I didn't want to believe that Maya's cold feet had nothing to do with weather. Chapter 3, The Silence. She stopped talking about the wedding after that. No more Pinterest boards. No more dress fittings. No more unsolicited texts about color palettes or what kind of vows feel more us. It was like someone had flipped a switch and muted the part of her that had once squealed over hydrangeas and champagne flutes. She still answered texts. Still called, most days. But the tone had changed, lighter, breezier. She talked more about work. Her mother. Her new fitness coach. Everything except the thing we were supposed to be planning together. I asked if she wanted to reschedule the Maldives trip. Offered to call the resort and shift the dates. Said we could pick a new time together, make it feel fresh. She hesitated just long enough to be noticeable. "No, let's keep it as is," she said. "It gives us something to look forward to, right?" I tried to believe her. Tried to believe we were just hitting pause, not erasing the tape. But something was off. She used to send me playlists. Now I got forwarded memes. She used to ask about my mom. Now she forgot her name in conversation. And every time I mentioned the trip, our trip, her eyes would flick away. Just slightly. Like she was doing math in the background and didn't want me to see the equation. One night, I asked her point blank, "Are we okay?" She smiled. "Of course. We're just taking a breath." But it didn't feel like a breath. It felt like a silence designed to give her just enough time to do whatever she was already planning to do. And I didn't know it yet. But someone else was already packing my bags. Chapter 4, A Photo from Paradise. I wasn't looking for proof. Not that night. I was lying on my couch with a half-empty glass of bourbon and a playlist I couldn't finish. My phone buzzed, a group tag and a photo I hadn't expected. An old mutual friend had posted a throwback from college, one of those dumb remember when vacation collages. But tucked in the background of the last frame, barely noticeable, was a newer photo. Not from college. Not a throwback. It was a beach shot. A high-end resort. Maldives. And sitting on a lounge chair, partially turned toward the water, was Jared. Maya's ex. The same Jared who used to show up at her mom's parties. The same Jared she'd sworn was ancient history. The same Jared who, according to her, hadn't spoken to her in over a year. He was holding a champagne flute, shirt off, tan deep, unmistakably relaxed. Behind him, to the right of the frame, a woman. Sunglasses. Big hat. A white one-piece swimsuit with a cutout at the ribs, one I recognized. I'd seen it in Maya's drawer last month when she asked if it was too much for the honeymoon. The water behind them was glass. Exactly like she'd described it. I clicked the location tag. Same resort I had booked. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just stared at the photo for a long time. Then I pulled up the booking confirmation on my laptop. Checked the guest log through the resort's online portal. It had been updated. Same arrival date. Same villa number. Only now, there were two guests listed. Maya Monroe. Jared Fields. She hadn't canceled the trip. She'd just gone without me. Chapter 5, The Confirmation. I didn't call her. Didn't send a text. Didn't throw my phone across the room. I just stared at the guest log until the names stopped blurring. Then I picked up the phone and did what I always do when I need answers. I made a plan. I called the resort, pretending to be a travel assistant confirming a guest itinerary. The concierge was polite, efficient, and a little too honest. "Yes, Ms. Monroe and her companion are enjoying their stay," she said. "Would you like me to leave a message on their villa line?" "No, thank you," I said. "This is just internal. Can you confirm the return transfer is still scheduled?" She paused. "Yes, it's set for Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Viaduct Seaplane." "Perfect. Actually, can we cancel that?" There was a longer pause. "Sir?" "I'll rebook through my end," I said smoothly. "They'll be extended an extra day. But let's go ahead and release that transfer spot." She agreed. And just like that, the ride back was gone. I didn't know if they'd notice until the dock crew shrugged and told them it wasn't coming. But that wasn't the point. I wasn't trying to strand her. Not yet. I was just reminding myself that silence could move just as loudly as fury. She hadn't told me the truth. She'd used the trip I booked to celebrate a life we weren't going to live. So I started treating her exactly as she had treated me, like a detail to be worked around. A mistake to be corrected. A person already edited out of the picture. And I wasn't just going to take the loss quietly. I was going to give her entire family something unforgettable in return. Chapter 6, The Family Who Helped Her. Carla opened the door like nothing had happened. Still in her pearl button cardigan and wine-colored lipstick, still perfectly put together. Her smile didn't crack for a second when she saw me on her porch. "Tyler," she said, drawing the name out like honey. "We haven't seen you in forever. Come in, come in." I stepped inside. Everything smelled like cinnamon and denial. "I was in the area," I said. "Thought I'd drop by. Maya mentioned you weren't feeling well?" She waved it off. "Just stress. You know how the holidays are." I didn't say anything. Just let the silence do its work. She poured tea. Asked about my mother. Talked about how fast the neighborhood was changing. I let her ramble. Then, finally, I said, "So, how's Maya?" Carla paused. Something about her smile tightened, like she'd just remembered I wasn't supposed to know what I already knew. "She's doing some soul-searching," she said carefully. "Taking time to reevaluate what she wants." "Is that what they call it now?" I said quietly. She blinked. I set my teacup down on the glass tray with a gentle clink. "I saw the photo, Carla. I know about the Maldives. About Jared. About the ticket I paid for." Her lips parted, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she gave a tired little shrug and said, "You're a good man, Tyler. But sometimes, people outgrow good." There it was. Not an apology. Not even regret. Just justification. Like betrayal was a natural part of refinement. I nodded once. "Thanks for the tea." She followed me to the door. "You deserve someone who sees you." But Maya. She needed someone who fits. I looked her in the eye. "Oh, she fits, all right." Then I walked out of that house with nothing in my hands. But more than enough to carry into my next move. Chapter 7, The Guest List Shift. 2 weeks later, an invitation arrived. Carla's 60th birthday bash. Formal. Vineyard setting. Family only plus a few close friends. Printed cardstock with gold foil and an RSVP portal that linked to a custom website. I stared at the envelope for a full minute before opening it. Inside, Maya's name was listed under Jared's. Not mine. No apology. No explanation. Just a quiet update, as if the swap had always been the plan. That was the moment I knew I wasn't going to confront her again. I was going to RSVP. And I was going to help them throw the best party of their lives. The next morning, I called Carla and told her I wanted to contribute, as a gesture of peace. "I know things didn't work out with Maya," I said, my voice warm. "But I still care about your family. I'd love to be part of the celebration." Carla was thrilled. Said it showed real maturity. She connected me with the event coordinator. Sent me the contact list. Gave me full access to the guest platform. I offered to take care of the RSVP site updates, make it more seamless for guests, track headcount, manage digital reminders. She handed it over without hesitation. "It's so nice to have someone reliable," she said. And just like that, I had the list. The email access. The infrastructure. I started by updating the RSVP flow. Then I rebuilt the guest portal from scratch. Added a hidden page. Set a timed redirect. Linked it to a private cloud folder. Monica helped me curate the receipts, the screenshots, the proof. And then I set the timer. The party would begin at 6 p.m. The slideshow. At exactly 6:45. They wanted a celebration? I was going to give them Something they'd remember for the rest of their lives. Chapter 8, The RSVP That Wasn't Meant to Be. The first thing I did was make the website look perfect. Polished, elegant, Carla approved. White and gold theme? Custom RSVP form. A countdown clock to the big 6-0. All of it packaged with soft music and looping photos of vineyards and champagne glasses. Just enough sparkle to make people feel like they were part of something special. And that's what they thought it was. Just another party site. What they didn't know, what only I knew, was that I'd hidden something inside it. Not a virus. Not a public broadcast. Just a key. A key to the truth. Here's how it worked. The RSVP site had a hidden redirect. It wasn't visible to the average guest. But if someone visited the page between 6:44 and 6:46 p.m. on the night of the party, during the time Carla had planned the dinner toast, the site would automatically forward them to a private link. That link led to a video folder titled Highlights from Paradise. Inside was the slideshow. It looked like part of the celebration at first: ocean clips, drone shots of the Maldives, a romantic melody in the background. The first photos were beautiful. But then came the twist. A still frame of Maya and Jared lounging in the villa I booked. A zoom in on the resort itinerary, showing her name and his as guests. The booking receipt, with my name at the top. Followed by screenshots. Her texts to her sister saying Tyler is too nice. I need someone who sees me. A cropped photo from Instagram showing her in the white swimsuit she once asked me to help her pack. And finally, the RSVP record itself, submitted by Carla. Maya Monroe plus Jared Fields, confirmed attending as couple. The same lines that used to read Tyler Jameson plus Maya Monroe. But the final slide was the dagger. White background. Black text. This was never your seat to take. No narration. No branding. Just the truth, lined up and timestamped. I didn't plan to show up at the party. I didn't need to. I scheduled the final guest email to go out the day before the event. It included directions, a little message from Carla, and one very specific request. Please confirm your attendance by 6:45 p.m. so we can finalize the welcome toast. And they would. Because people like Carla always follow the instructions. They'd click the link at exactly the time I told them to. In the middle of their own celebration. And that's when the screen would change. Not because I burst in uninvited. But because they walked into the reveal themselves. One click. That's all it would take. And then every guest would see what I saw. Exactly how they wanted me to see it. Beautiful. Curated. And impossible to forget. Chapter 9, The Scheduled Reveal. The party started like every other picture-perfect lie. White tents stretched across the vineyard lawn. Strings of Edison bulbs lit the sky. A jazz trio played in the corner while guests sipped wine and complimented Carla's flawless taste. There were matching cocktail napkins, a catered grazing table, and a signature drink called the Carla 60. Maya arrived with Jared. Arm in arm. Polished. Unbothered. She wore a champagne-colored dress, not far from the one she'd picked out for our rehearsal dinner. Jared looked like he didn't belong, but also didn't care. The kind of man who coasted on proximity to confidence, even if it wasn't his. They worked the crowd like they owned it. And no one stopped them. Because no one knew. Yet. At 6:45 p.m., Carla tapped her wineglass. Everyone. She called, beaming. Let's gather for a little tribute video before dinner. Just a few words from the people who matter most. The projector screen lit up behind her, perfectly timed. She turned, nodded to the AV guy, and the music queued up. Only. It wasn't the tribute she expected. The screen went dark. Then. Waves lapping. Maldives sunset. The start of the slideshow. A few people clapped, thinking it was a travel memory montage. Then came the second photo, Maya, leaning on a railing in the exact villa I booked. Jared behind her, laughing. Someone near the front tilted their head. Another whispered, "Wait. That's not Tyler." Then came the booking receipt. My name. Her name. Jared's name. Then the texts. The dates. The RSVP record. It was silent by then. Except for Carla's voice, "That's not supposed to be." She stepped forward, motioning to the AV guy. "Turn it off. That's not the right file." But it wouldn't stop. The screen held on the final frame. "This was never your seat to take." Gasps. Then murmurs. Then silence again. Maya didn't speak. Jared stared at the floor. Carla turned crimson, hand fluttering at her chest like she couldn't breathe. The slideshow cut off. No one clapped. Because some gifts don't come wrapped in ribbons. Some come sealed in silence. And played in front of everyone you thought would protect you. Chapter 10, Carly doesn't look away. There was a beat of stunned silence after the screen went black. Just one long inhale from the crowd, collective, tense, like the air itself didn't know what to do next. Forks stopped moving. Champagne flutes froze midair. The jazz trio had gone quiet, instruments lowered at their sides. And then... "Wow," someone whispered. No one knew who. Carla stood center stage, blinking too fast, her voice caught in her throat. That wasn't what we planned. That was not part of the schedule." Maya just stood there. Stone still. Eyes wide, but mouth clamped shut. She looked around for someone to jump in, to change the subject, to shield her with a joke. Jared shifted uncomfortably beside her, doing what men like him always do, waiting for someone else to clean up the mess. But no one did. Until Carly stood. My sister had been sitting quietly at the back of the tent, sipping her drink with all the calm of a woman who'd seen this coming months ago. She wore black, always did at family functions, like she never bought the lie of perfection. She walked to the front of the tent like she'd just been called. No mic. No platform. Just her voice. "I wasn't going to say anything tonight," she started, eyes on the crowd, not on Maya. "I figured this family had enough lies in rotation already. But since the screen already gave you the receipts." Her gaze landed on Carla. Then on Jared. Then, finally, on Maya. "You didn't just betray my brother," she said. "You used him. You humiliated him. You robbed him of something he gave you in good faith, not just a trip, not just a ring, but a future. And the worst part is, you let everyone here pretend like it didn't happen." No one interrupted. Carly's voice didn't crack. It sharpened. "You all helped her do it." The guest list changed. The RSVPs were rewritten. And nobody thought he'd notice. She turned to the room. But he did. Then back to Maya. "You could have left him. You could have told the truth. But instead, you turned his kindness into currency, and handed it to your ex." Maya's lips parted like she wanted to argue. But she didn't. Because she knew Carly wasn't wrong. And as my sister stepped back and raised her glass, she left them with one line. "To the guest of honor," she said. Not Carla. Not Maya. But the truth. Late to the party. But right on time. Chapter 11, The Fallout Begins. No one touched their food. The roast chicken sat untouched on silver platters. The wine went warm in crystal glasses. Even the jazz trio quietly packed up and slipped away. Carla tried to recover. She clapped her hands too loudly and said, Let's get back to celebrating, shall we?" But her voice cracked halfway through, and no one followed her lead. Grant, Maya's father, stood stiff at the bar, whispering furiously to the woman beside him. That was Eliza, Maya's stepmother. She looked pale, rigid, like she'd just watched the family portrait fall off the wall and shatter. Maya hadn't moved. Jared had. He was already halfway to the valet. I watched from a distance, leaning against the trellis near the outer tent. I hadn't planned to come. Had fully intended to let the video speak for itself. But curiosity has a gravitational pull. And I wanted to see the silence after the lie breaks open. Carly caught my eye across the lawn. Raised an eyebrow. I nodded once. Then Maya broke. She turned to Carla, voice sharp and too loud. Why didn't you shut it down? You said everything was locked in. Carla hissed back, don't you dare turn this on me, you sent the files from your email, Maya. You're the one who used his reservation. Their argument was soft at first. But loud enough. I thought he'd moved on. You thought wrong. I didn't think he wasn't even supposed to be invited. From across the tent, someone muttered, wait, he wasn't? Eliza finally stepped forward, voice low but trembling. Maybe we should just sit down. Talk privately. No, I said, walking toward the group now. Let them keep going. This is the only honest conversation they've had all year. Maya turned toward me like I was a ghost. You did this? No, I said calmly. You did. I just gave everyone the chance to see it. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Jared had vanished. No one noticed. No one cared. Because now, the party wasn't about celebration. It was about exposure. And everyone who smiled their way through betrayal had to sit with the truth. In public. For the very first time. Chapter 12, The Gifts Returned. The first package arrived 2 days after the party. No return address. Just my name, typed and centered in small black letters. Inside was a bottle of 18-year scotch, the one I brought to Carla's last Christmas, unopened. A folded note rested on top. You left this behind. Thought you might want it now. Grant. No apology. No explanation. Just an unspoken attempt to make the world feel even again. It didn't. The second came the next morning. A monogrammed robe with my initials, still in the gift box. Maya and I had picked out matching ones for the honeymoon suite, hers had never made it out of the tissue paper. Then came the album. Wrapped in soft leather. Embossed with gold lettering, Tyler and Maya, Forever Begins. Inside, photos from our engagement shoot. Beach shots. Laughter frozen in sunlit frames. Sticky notes on some pages where Maya had planned out future captions. Our first sunset as husband and wife. He makes me feel seen. I almost didn't open it. But I did. On the final page, taped loosely at the corner, was a small envelope. Inside, a photo I didn't remember taking. Me, holding the resort reservation confirmation, grinning like an idiot. Maya had taken it. Said she wanted to remember how happy I looked when I surprised her. I sat with that photo for a long time. Then I picked up a pen. Crossed out her caption. Wrote a new one underneath. The last time I mistook a performance for love. I closed the album. Slid it back into the box. But I kept the photo. Tucked it into my desk drawer, next to the passport I almost didn't use. Because the next flight to the Maldives would be a one-way trip, just for me. And this time, the only name on the reservation would be mine. Chapter 13, Jared gets an invoice. It wasn't petty. It was surgical. 3 weeks after the party, I sent Jared an envelope. Flat. Clean. Professional. Inside, an itemized invoice. Summary. Unauthorized use of prepaid travel package. Guest name, Jared Fields. Original reservation owner, Tyler Jameson. Total value, $14,612.92. Each line was documented: flights, transfers, spa credits, the villa upgrade Maya begged for. All of it laid out with time-stamped receipts and confirmation numbers. But it wasn't just a list. At the bottom, in bold: payment due in full within 30 days. Failure to respond will result in escalation. No emotional flourish. No handwritten note. Just the facts. Because it wasn't a prank. It was a bill. And legally? A damn good one. I sent a copy to his office, the architecture firm listed on his LinkedIn. Address verified. Signature required on delivery. I didn't expect a check. But I wanted him to feel it. To see his name printed next to every dollar he didn't deserve. To know he'd been formally, publicly, and professionally billed for the lie he helped orchestrate. I didn't hear back. But a week later, the invoice went viral. Someone posted it online, maybe someone in his office. Reddit picked it up. TikTok followed. Suddenly people were reenacting it, praising the formatting, dissecting the legality. Even a financial podcast DM'd me. I didn't reply. Yet. Because this wasn't for clicks. It was closure. Then I got a message from someone unexpected. You don't know me. I dated Jared years ago. Just wanted to say, I wish I'd done what you did. That's when I knew. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's formal. Logged. And sent with postage. Chapter 14, The Interview Request. I didn't expect it to turn into a movement. At first, it was just a Reddit post. A few comments. Then a share to TikTok. Then the screenshots. Then the memes. The invoice I sent Jared, part revenge, part legal curiosity, started bouncing through the internet like a cautionary tale dressed up as catharsis. People weren't laughing at me. They were rooting for me. A week after the post went viral, my inbox changed. Strangers messaged me with their stories, quiet, sad, sometimes brutal. Men who'd been left at the altar. Women who'd planned honeymoons their partners never showed up for. People who got cheated on by entire families pretending nothing happened. Then came the podcast request. We'd love to have you on for a long-form feature. We'll change names. Keep it respectful. But people need to hear this story from you. I let the email sit for 3 days. I wasn't chasing attention. This was never about an audience. The invoice wasn't a stunt. It was an answer. But there was something about being invited to speak, really speak, that felt clarifying. Because the truth is, I had stayed quiet for a long time. I'd kept my voice level when they erased me from the RSVP. I smiled at Carla when she lied to my face. I let Maya walk into the Maldives with another man and said nothing, not to her, not to him. But this was my story. And I was done letting people rewrite it for me. The studio was dim and warm. The host, Andrea, offered me tea and sat across from me like we were old friends. She didn't rush. She let me tell the story the way it actually happened, not the version the internet had started to embellish. Not the dramatized version for clicks. Just me. Just the truth. When we got to the invoice, she smiled. That was my favorite part. I grinned. It wasn't about the money. What was it about? Boundaries, I said. Proof that I didn't let them take everything. That I closed the tab myself. She nodded. Then came her final question. Soft. Almost too gentle. If you could go back. To the night you booked the trip. When everything still felt right. What would you tell that version of yourself? I didn't answer right away. I thought about the smile on Maya's face when I showed her the folder. The way she'd said no one had ever done something like that for her. And then I thought about how easy it is to mistake flattery for affection. Gratitude for love. Proximity for loyalty. I cleared my throat. I'd tell him this. Don't be afraid to give someone everything. But watch who claps for you when they're not getting anything in return. Andrea held my gaze. That's beautiful, she whispered. That's gonna stay with people. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I'd lost something. I felt like I'd reclaimed it. Epilogue, something to remember. The plane touched down just after sunrise. Clear skies. Turquoise water stretching past the horizon like glass. The kind of view you don't forget, even if you try. A young staff member greeted me on the dock with a chilled towel and a smile. Welcome back, Mr. Jameson. I nodded. Good to be here. He didn't know the story. None of them did. As far as the resort was concerned, I was just another solo traveler checking into a honeymoon suite with no +1. The same villa. Same deck. Same ocean. Only this time, there was no second toothbrush on the counter. No second glass beside the champagne bucket. No secrets buried beneath the surface. Just me. And peace. On the third night, I stood out on the deck alone, the water glowing beneath the glass floor panels, fish drifting through beams of soft light. I reached into my duffel and pulled out the small wooden box I'd carried here. Inside, the photo. Me, holding the original booking confirmation, smiling. The last moment before everything unraveled. I took it out. Smoothed the corners. Then folded it once, not to destroy it, just to make it smaller. Manageable. I didn't throw it away. I just put it back inside the box. Closed the lid. And tucked it at the back of the closet. A relic? Not a scar. Later that week, the concierge asked if I wanted to book any excursions. I said no. I'm not here to chase anything, I told her. I'm just here to be. She smiled and handed me a shell, polished, white, and weightless. Take this, she said. Something to remember. I did. And as the waves curled quietly beneath the deck and the wind moved through the curtains behind me, I realized she had no idea just how perfect that line was. Because the trip they took from me? I took it back. Every second of it. And this time, I made it unforgettable.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.